show you how to make these really cool hurricane lantern covers. These are mini lanterns and they come 4 to a pack. I'll have the link in the description and also in the free pattern, the written pattern, and also on my blog. So let's get started. This is the 3rd pattern in the Crochet Magical Mystery Tour. And if you haven't already joined, go ahead and take a look in the description. I have a link to where you can join this free program where each week I send out a free pattern and free video tutorial. And there's also some other goodies like giveaways and recognition. So go ahead and sign up and be sure to not miss out on any of the patterns. Each week we will be learning a new stitch or technique, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So look forward to you joining us. In this week's pattern, we are going to be learning the Tunisian simple stitch. There's many different types of stitches and stitch combinations in Tunisian crochet, but this is the most basic one, and it's called Tunisian simple stitch, or TSS for short. And you can see it has this really cool woven look where we have a forward pass and a return pass. Now, the one thing I just want to say is if you've never tried it or felt intimidated by it or just haven't gotten around to trying it, don't be intimidated. Don't be afraid. This is actually very easy to do. I've done knitting, crocheting, and Tunisian crochet, and I believe that Tunisian is actually the easiest of all 3 of them, as well as the fastest. So let's give it a shot, and I think you're going to love it. For this project, we're going to be utilizing the usual suspects. For some yarn, I'm going to be using Ferris wheel in colorway Vintage Carousel. I've got a 6.0 millimeter hook with a rubber band on the end because we need to keep our loops on our hook with this Tunisian crochet project. Also a scissors, a yarn needle, and this is Susan Bates, my favorite, because they're very easy to string, a measuring tape, and we're going to be making a cover for this lantern, which it comes 4 in a pack. They sell them on Amazon, and these lights are so bright that you kind of need to have a cover for them. So plus they're so pretty, like you can use it year-round. You don't even have to be going through a storm to use this. I guess you can also use them for camping too. So let's get started. So the first step is you're just going to measure around your lantern at the largest place, and for me that's just slightly shy of 11 inches. So let's make a chain as long as that, just shy of 11 inches. Okay, so to start, we're going to start like we start every other project with a slip knot. So this is our tail end, and this is our working end that's connected to our ball of yarn. We're going to take the working end and fold it on top of the tail end. We're going to take the working end and pull it up through that loop. And then we're just going to put that loop onto our hook and pull it up tight. So now what we're going to do is we're going to chain the amount of chains that's going to give us the length that will go around our lantern at its widest point, which was just shy of 11 inches. And this is a stretchy yarn, so I measured it ahead of time. It's with this Ferris wheel yarn, it's going to be probably about 40 chains. So let me show you how to make a chain. We've done this in the other projects, but I'll show you again. You have this loop on your hook, you're going to yarn over and pull a loop through. So again, yarn over, pull a loop through, yarn over, pull through that loop on your hook, okay? And you just keep doing that until you have the length that will go around your lantern. I'll meet you at the end. Okay, so I have done 40 chains, and what you're going to do is take a look at your chain. On one side you have these V's, and on the back you have the third strand of each chain, and that's sometimes referred to as the back bump or back hump. And what we're going to do is we're going to skip the first one and go into this back bump of the second chain. And the reason why we do this is it gives a nicer look to our bottom edge. So we skip that first one. We're going to go into the back bump of the second chain, and what you want to do is make sure that this loop is not too loose, so just tighten that up a bit. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop onto our hook. So this is where Tunisian crochet is a little different from regular crochet. We're going to be building up loops, kind of like in knitting. So then we're just going to go into the back bump again of the next chain, yarn over, and pull up a loop. And we are just going to do that all the way across. Yarn over, pull up a loop, and just make sure that all your loops are uniform, that they're all the same height, and also not too tight. So I just like to kind of loosen it just ever so slightly. And the reason is when Tunisian crochet is tightly done, it can start to curl. Your work can start to curl. And that curling will depend a lot on the type of yarn you use as well. So go ahead and do that all the way to the end until you have all the loops on your hook, and I'll meet you at the end. Okay, so I've just finished my last stitch into the back bump of that last chain. I've counted my loops and I have 40 loops. So whatever amount of chains you started with, you should have that number of loops on your crochet hook. So what we just did was a foundation row, or essentially the forward pass. And in Tunisian, we always work with the right side of our work facing us. We never turn our work except in special cases, but we're not going to be doing that today. So we work this way with the forward pass, and then we work back with the same side facing us with the reverse pass. So every row in Tunisian crochet has a forward pass and a reverse pass. So I'm going to show you how to do the reverse pass now. So it's for the basic return pass, it's very simple. You yarn over and pull through one loop on your hook. That essentially creates your edge stitch. Then we yarn over and we pull through 1, 2 loops. I'll show that to you again. This is 1 and this is 2. So we yarn over and pull through 1, 2 loops on our hook. And we're essentially creating a chain underneath these loops as we do this. And that's referred to as the horizontal chain when we go over the anatomy of the Tunisian crochet in a moment. So you're just going to continue that all the way back to the end until you have just one, until you've gone through all the loops. I'll meet you at the end for the last 2 loops. Okay, we have just 2 loops left on our hook, and we're going to yarn over, pull through 1, and we're left with just 1 loop on our hook, and we have finished row 1, our foundation row. So let me go ahead and show you the anatomy of the Tunisian crochet stitch here. So you can see we have these vertical bars in the front. That's the front vertical bar. So the loops that had been on our hook create these vertical bars. One is in the front and one is in the back. You can see it here that one is in the front and one is in the back here. And then along the top edge we have that chain that we created on our reverse pass. And the chain has the same qualities that any crochet chain has. It has the V's in the front and it has these back bumps along the top. And for different stitches, sometimes we work into that chain for fancier stitches, but we're not going to be doing that today. Today for the simple stitch, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working into the front vertical bars. So this loop that's on our hook counts as our first stitch. So this first vertical bar, we're not going to work into that. We always start with the second stitch. So what we do is we take our hook and we come to the front of the work. We go under that second vertical bar. We yarn over and we pull up a loop. And now this is a forward pass, so we're going to just continue this all the way to the end. So I'll show you that again. You go under that vertical bar in the front, yarn over, and pull up a loop. Now, like with the first foundation row, make sure that you're keeping your loops loose enough so that your work doesn't get too tight and start curling. And even if it does curl a little bit, it'll be okay, because once we put this on the lantern, it will flatten out. So I'll just show you one more. Under that front vertical bar, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then just kind of make sure that the height is the same as the other ones. Actually, I just thought that maybe, since some of you might be new, you might want to just watch me how I do this as I go along, just to give you a sense of the rhythm of it. And if you don't need to watch this, you can just kind of fast forward till we get to the end of the row. You can see as I pull up the loop, I make sure that it's, loose, that it's not too tight. And I just kind of pull these down as I go. And once you get the hang of it, it actually goes quite fast. I find that keeping the work down makes it easier to get into, kind of stretches out the work and makes it easier to get into the next front vertical bar. And for those of you who've never knitted, it may feel a little funny at first having the yarn under your hand, but I can tell you, you'll get used to that, so don't worry too much about that. So we're coming down to the end, and by the way, if you made it through the first row, you can congratulate yourself, because the first row is the hardest row, and once you get through that, just like any crochet project, that first working into chains is always a little fiddly. So here we are. I just did the second to last vertical bar, and we're here at our edge stitch. Now the edge stitch has 3 parts to it. It has this thread, it has two threads on the side, one that comes over the top and one that's behind that. So we got this one, and we have this one, and then over here we have a third thread that runs in the back right there. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going underneath the two outer threads. So for our forward pass, we've been going under just one vertical bar for each stitch. But for the edge stitch, we're going to go under these two outer threads of the last stitch. And then we're just going to yarn over and pull up a loop. So that's the second hardest thing about Tunisian crochet, is catching that edge stitch, and we'll look at that again on the next row. So let's just practice the return pass one more time. So the very first is a yarn over and pull through one. That's creating our edge stitch. Let me do that again. Yarn over, and pull through one, and that creates our edge stitch. And you can see again how that edge stitch has the three threads. We have this top outer thread and the outer thread that's behind it, and then we have the third thread that kind of winds around to the back. Now we're ready to start creating the top chain that goes through all of our loops. So we yarn over and pull through two, and just do that all the way back. We yarn over, pull through two for our return pass all the way back. And once you get comfortable with the motion, you'll be able to go pretty fast on the return pass. That's what makes it so speedy. And I'll just say about Tunisian crochet, you know, it used to be used mostly for blankets because it does make a thicker fabric. But I will tell you that Tunisian crochet can be used for any kind of project. It can also be quite lacy and light when you use it with light yarns. This is a medium yarn, so it can be medium. And it can also, of course, be very thick for warm blankets, warm hats, warm mitts, which I have a nice pair of warm mitts in my Tunisian crochet online course. There'll be a link for that in the description below too. So we get all the way down to the end. Just keep pulling, yarn over, pull through two. You know you're done when you just have one loop left on your hook. So now we've just finished row 2. So again, this is our first stitch. We're going to skip that first vertical bar, and we're going to work into the second vertical bar. Yarn over, pull up a loop, go into the next one, yarn over, pull up a loop, and work that all the way down to the end. I'll meet you at the end to show you the edge stitch again. Okay, so we're down to the last few stitches. I've got 2 more vertical bars, 1, 2, and then I'll have my edge stitch. So I'm going to go into 1, 2, and now we're at our edge stitch, and we turn it to the side, and we can see that we have these 2 threads here. It's our last stitch from the previous row. This thread here is going to the back. This is our top outside edge stitch, and this is our back outside side stitch. So we're going to go underneath those two. Go under those, yarn over, and pull up our last loop. And again, the return pass is yarn over, pull through one, and then yarn over, pull through two, all the way back. And again, the yarn does get kind of scrunched up on your hook, but that is not a problem. That's nothing to be worried about. You could use a Tunisian crochet hook if you'd like. I'll have links to that. But for just trying out this technique, you don't need to buy any new equipment. So just keep going. So what you're going to do now is just going to continue in this manner until your piece is tall enough to cover the light of your lantern. So we're going to need our piece to be from here up to here, and on this, that's going to be about 4 inches. So if you're using the same kind of lantern that I'm recommending here, and they're not too expensive, it's for a set of 4, and just as an aside, you're probably going to have friends and family saying, "Oh, will you make me one of those?" when they see them, because they're really cool. So you'll get 4 of them. You'll probably use them yourself, and then you'll have people asking you for them, and you'll be making them as gifts. So anyways, you're going to continue just doing these rows like this until your piece measures around 4 inches, or if you are doing a different lantern, whatever your measurement is. So I'll meet you back here when this is about 4 inches high, and I'll show you how to do the bind off row, because as you see, as we're building this, these rows are nice and tight, or dense, and up here, whenever we finish a row, we have these holes in them, and when we do the bind off, that's going to get rid of that and make that as tight as the first couple of rows. So I'll meet you back here and show you how to do that. I want to show you one more edge stitch because I think the yarn here is a little bit clearer to see. You can see right here we have the corner. So this is that was our first chain of this chain that runs through our return pass on every row. That's our first chain of that return pass. This here is the edge stitch. This is the inner thread right here. Let me get the needle. This is that inner thread, and so this makes like a corner. This is the first chain, and then this is our outer stitch. You can see here is the inner of the 3 threads, and here are the outer 2 of the 3 threads. And you can see this one comes over the top, and this one is behind. So again, for that last stitch, you go on top of the inner thread and under the 2 outer threads. Yarn over and pull up that last loop, And then of course again for the return pass, yarn over, pull through 1, and yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, all the way back until you have just 1 loop left on your hook. Okay, so my piece now measures just about 4 inches, and we're ready to do the bind off. So let's show you how to do this. So we bind off just like we do the forward pass, except instead of building loops on our hook, we're going to be finishing each stitch. So again, this is our first stitch, so we skip the first vertical bar and we go into the second vertical bar, we yarn over and pull up a loop. Now with 2 loops on our hook, we're just going to slip stitch that. We're just going to slip 1 stitch into the other. So let me just show you that again. We're going to go under the next vertical bar, yarn over, pull up a loop, and we're going to take the second loop and pull it through the first loop. That's a slip stitch. We're just going to do that all the way across the top. And as we're doing this, it's closing up these holes. It's tightening it up so that it matches the rest of the fabric. And simultaneously, it's creating this really pretty chained edge at the top. So go ahead and do that all the way across, and I will meet you at the end where we're just going to go into that edge stitch like we always go into an edge stitch, same way. So I'm here at the last 2 stitches. We're going to go under the second to the last vertical bar, slip stitch, and now we're just going to go into the edge stitch just like we always do. We're going to go on top of that inner thread and under the 2 outer threads. Yarn over, pull up a loop, and slip stitch it, and then we're just going to do 1 chain and leave your yarn on because we'll use that for sewing it together. So for sewing this together, we're going to, this is our right side with all our vertical bars in the front, and this is what the back side looks like. We're going to fold it over itself with the right side on the inside, and we're going to line up the 2 edges. Then what we're going to do is take the loop off your hook, and you can see on each edge we have these nice V's, this nice edge, and we have it on this side as well. We have the V's. So what we're going to do is put your hook through under the first set of V's and grab your loop and just pull it through there. So now those 2 sides are connected. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to go under each set. Actually, let's do it this way. It'll look a little neater. Is just go under 1 bar of the V on one side, and then on the other side, that would be the outside bar, or well, it's the side that's closest to your wrong side. And then on the other side, you're going to go into that outside bar. And then you're going to yarn over, pull through a loop, and then just slip stitch it. And we're just going to do that all the way down. I'll show you that again. Go to the next set of V's. I'm going to go under the outer bar, and then the outer bar of the V on the other side. This is the V. yarn over, pull a loop through both, and then slip stitch it. Outer bar and the outer bar. So just do that all the way down to the end. I'll meet you at the end. So I've just gone into the last two outer bars of the last stitch on each side. I'm going to slip stitch that, and we have this nice slip stitch edge. Just pull up that loop and I'll show you. So the reason why we did that is we get this nice join on the other side where the V's kind of line up. So keep that loop, because now we are going to create this toggle that holds it in place. Okay, so this is our loop, this is our working yarn, this is our original tail. What you're going to do is you're just going to turn this right side out, and we're going to begin our button strap or button closure. I don't know what you call that. So you can see we have a nice join here. Okay, so this is our join, and what you're going to do is turn it so that the join is on the side, and you're going to make a chain that goes across here and down a little ways, down to about, say, a quarter of the way down. So let's go ahead and make that chain. I'll meet you at the end of the chain. Okay, so I have my chain. It spans across the top and it comes down about 1 inch. And for me, with the Ferris wheel yarn, that was about 25 chains. So now what we're going to do is count up to the 5th chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go under one of the loops, doesn't matter which one, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. That's a single crochet. And you're going to do that all the way across back to the beginning. When we get back to the beginning, I'll meet you there with the next step. Okay, so I've single crocheted all the way back, and if your tail gets in the way, just pull it to the inside of your work to get it out of the way. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to fasten this to this one side over here. So we're going to go under, we're going to take the loop off our hook and turn your work around. Go through here, go through that first top V, grab that loop and just pull it through there. So now it is secured to that side, and now what we're going to do is we're just going to single crochet back out to the end here and all the way around. So we're just going to go back into the same stitch that we were in before and single crochet. We're going to do that all the way to the end, and then I'll show you what we do at the end. Okay, so I am at the place where I made my little buttonhole. I have one more single crochet to go into, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 4 or 5 single crochets right into this buttonhole. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to single crochet back along the bottom edge of that starting chain of our button closure. So you see this was our original starting chain, and we went into one thread of it. Now there's 2 threads still left. I'm going to go into each of those and do single crochets all the way back, and I'll show you what to do when you get all the way back. Okay, so I'm at the last stitch. I'm going to do a single crochet there, and then I'm going to do a slip stitch into the first edge stitch here to connect it back to the piece, and that's it. Then I'm going to pull the yarn through, going to cut my yarn, and then we'll just sew in the ends, and also we're going to sew on the button. So what you'll do is you'll take your lantern, oops, put this on it, let me lift this up here to show you. So we have it on, and what I want to do is pull my button closure, and actually want to do it, if you're using this kind of lantern, put the closure in here between the 2 holders. And I'm going to see where to put my button. Looks like it's going to be right in the center here. So I'll attach my button and sew in my ends, and I'll show you the finished item when it's done. Okay, so our ends are sewed in and our button is sewed on. Let's put it on. And these colors with Ferris wheel are so pretty. It's perfect for Tunisian crochet because you really see the color changes coming through behind the vertical bars. It's one of the cool things about Tunisian. I'll just button that. And it's ready to shine and make your home look so colorful at night. These are awesome, you know, if you have a storm, but they're also great for setting a mood in your home or outside at the fire pit maybe, the glass of wine. So anyways, I hope that you liked this. If you did, please like this video. I would really appreciate that. Also, let me know your comments and thoughts in the comments below. Sign up for the Crochet Magical Mystery Tour and check out all the patterns we've had so far. This is number 3, but you may be watching this later and there may be more. There's a link to all of those patterns in the description. And thank you for joining. Hope to see you again soon. And share this video if you have crafty friends. Thanks for watching.